You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
I'm really looking forward to today's show, and the reason is this. This is a topic that I've wanted to bring you for a long time. I just didn't know how to properly digest it and get it into a real-world, usable format, because this is something that I studied in depth during my naturopathic studies, in my degree-based studies, and it's a form of medicine that's very rarely talked about in the United States. I learned about it from a German-based professor. It's called Homotoxicology, and it's actually this study of toxicity in the body, and essentially this thing we call the 6 phases of toxicity. I really did. I found this absolutely mind-blowing that it's not taught really in the US, but it really describes the entire process of why we age at a much faster rate, why we gain weight, and why we get disease in general. And the reason is this, is that when we look at this disease pathology, because that's really is. It's called a disease pathology, which means that it shows how things accumulate in our body and eventually lead to disease. It's absolutely remarkable. I'll talk more in depth about this topic if you find it interesting, if you want to hear more about it. But today I want to give you a little bit of a taste, and I want you to see how real world this application really is. Honestly, it's unbelievable. So in homotoxicology, we have this really beautiful chart that we use, and it's the 6 phases of disease, or the 6 phases of toxicity. And what does toxicity mean in this case? Well, it means that during the first phase, we get a cold, a virus, some type of toxin within the body. And instead of allowing the runny nose, a little bit of a fever, the cough, any of those things, we're told by our doctors, our PCPs, our MDs, or whatever it might be, to suppress that fever, to suppress that cough, to get rid of that runny nose. And what happens is that suppresses our body's natural ability to remove the toxin from our body. And again, this might be your first time hearing this, but believe it or not, a fever or a cough or a case of the sniffles is not a bad thing. That is not the disease or cold itself. Those are the processes your body uses to eliminate those toxins from your body. And the toxins might be the virus, the bacteria, the antigen, whatever it is, the pathogen in our body. So when we have diarrhea, we're not supposed to stop that diarrhea unless we're literally losing too many electrolytes or too many fluids through the body. We're not supposed to lower the fever unless it gets too high, around 103 for kids, around 105 for adults, because if we lower that fever, we're not allowing our body to speed up the progression and movement of the white blood cells around our body. And also, the heating up of our own core of our body also kills viruses and bacteria in and of itself, which is also why saunas and things like that can work so well. And when we, again, suppress our mucus from coming out through our nose or coughing it up through our chest, we are then allowing our body to suppress its own natural systems to get rid of that bacteria that we're trying to get out through our nose and through essentially our chest. So again, there's a time and a place to use medication, but it's certainly not for the common cold or for small fevers or things like that. Absolutely not. Believe it or not, the best thing you can do is allow that process to take place, but simply speed it up and give your body natural-based treatments. The natural treatments are the herbs, like the oregano oil. Other natural treatments are things like vitamin C and zinc. They work incredibly well. Just look at our adult-based immune protocol or our children's-based immune protocol. It's what I use with my own kids, and I use the adult with myself and with my family and everyone in my practice. I mean, they work great, and they've been around for thousands and thousands of years. Much, much longer, of course, than the 100 years or so that we've had conventional-based medicine and a lot of these specific drugs. So That's phase 1. Now, phase 2 is the reaction phase. If we've suppressed the fever, the mucus, any of those things, our body might then start to create more inflammation because, again, the pathogens, the bacteria in our body couldn't escape. It couldn't get out. So now it's at a deeper level in the body, and our body's looking for other routes to clear that. So it could cause bowel-based issues. It could cause skin issues, eczema, psoriasis. Those are common issues as well. It might cause things like arthritis or, again, inflammation anywhere around the bowels, like colitis, something like that. And again, if it's still not kept up with the body, if it's still not removed, if not pushed out well enough through the skin, like through eczema or psoriasis, where our body's trying to use our skin as an excretory organ, it can move through the next phase. So it can move past that, the reaction phase, to what's called the deposition phase. Now, this phase is where the toxins actually surround our cells. So that's called the interstitial milieu or the mesenchyme. And that literally, now that area, the interstitial milieu, it's what I look at under a microscope as well when I see people in my office. So when I look at that, I get to see how clean is that fluid. Because that's the fluid that takes the waste from your cells and feeds the nutrients to the cells themselves. So of course we want that to be as clean as humanly possible. And it's when it's not, we start to see things like warts or skin tags or gallstones and kidney stones and cellulite, varicose veins. Our glands get swollen because our lymphatic system gets congested. We see ovarian cysts, uterine fibroids, breast cysts, edema, weight gain, really any of these things that just show an inflammation-based process in the bodybuilding. When you see that, you'll also start to see, and this is really important to look at as well, we start to gain weight. And the reason we gain weight is because now our cells or our body's looking for a place to put all these toxins. And we know that fat cells accumulate these toxins. The reason we know that is when we look at fat cells themselves, adipose tissue, we can see that they're at least 300 times more toxic than our blood. And that's because our body is trying to store these toxins away safely inside of our fat cells. Well, the next phase is called the impregnation phase. And during this phase, again, our body's doing its best to remove those toxins from the mesenchyme, to remove them from that interstitial milieu, because what's happening now is they're starting to get into the cells. And if they can get into the cells, they can cause free radical damage, mitochondrial-based issues, so cellular respiration. And we're also looking at things like hepatitis, diabetes, asthma, thyroid-based issues, Hashimoto's, hormone imbalances, all sorts of cervical-based issues, and precancerous-based conditions. Again, not quite cancer. We're not there yet. We're getting there, but not quite there. The next phase is the breakdown phase. Okay, so now we're loaded up with toxins. Phase 5 is called the degeneration phase. So in the degeneration stage, this is really important, because a lot of times by the time you're getting here, you're causing irreversible damage. Now, again, it can be reversed through, which I'll talk about at the end, but you're getting towards irreversible damage. And that's the reason is this. When you start to get the Alzheimer's, the Parkinson's, the multiple sclerosis, the rheumatoid arthritis, the Hashimoto's, the scleroderma, heart attacks, kidney stones, infertility, dementia, all these things, what's happening is we're actually destroying neural synapses. So we're destroying parts of the nervous system, and they might not be able to be regenerated. You can't regenerate nerves very well. You can learn to work around them. We've seen that. That works. With rheumatoid arthritis, if you literally cause cellular destruction in the joints, okay, if your immune system from a CD8 perspective is actually breaking down, causing apoptosis of cells and tissue damage, you might not be able to clear that out, okay? I've worked with many people and we've absolutely got rid of rheumatoid arthritis. There's no doubt about that. We put it into so-called remission, which is the same thing as it's not there anymore. But if you've already caused the damage, like if your knuckles are all gnarled, well, that's caused that tissue damage. And the issue is we might not always be able to reverse that. Now, we can stop it from progressing. We can stop it cold in its tracks, but it's really important that you don't let it get to this stage. And if you're at this stage, it's time to put in the work now. There's no longer time for waiting. We need to change the nutrition, work on the detox, work on the exercise, we'll talk about that in a moment. Okay, the last phase is the cancer phase. Cancer is just a very straightforward sign and symptom that your body is no longer able to keep up with toxicity. If it was, we have cancer cells in our body at all times, okay? We have cells conglomerating, we have cellular growth that's getting out of control. But our natural killer cells, our T helper cells, our body's able to re-regulate or regulate the nervous system in general to kill those cells, to just cause, again, a normal apoptosis in the body, which kills those cells from multiplying and getting too out of control. But when the body is weakened, when it's in a weakened state, a mitochondrial weakened state, a toxic state, we allow then for the malignancy of those cancer cells to grow. And this is the final phase. This is where the DNA, the genetic code, is now damaged. And cancer cells are allowed to proliferate. So is this reversible? Yes, it is reversible. But when you get too far, it makes it really, really difficult. It does. There's hope for everyone out there. There's no doubt about it. Always keep hope alive because there is hope, and here's why. Someone else in your exact condition has been able to reverse this. So why not you? That's what I say. Why not you? What was different about them? But you have to do the things now to work backwards to a lot of people. So this is where there's debate. Again, there's no debate in my opinion for this homotoxicology. This is well studied. This was studied in the 1800s, maybe even before that, but I know for sure it was in the 1800s, 1900s. I read the literature. I went back to the old school books on homotoxicology. Now, they use a lot of homeopathics. They did back then 100 years ago. So I'm not a big homeopathic guy because I can't use those consistently in my practice. What I use in my practice is something that I'm going to get results on 9.9 out of 10 times. I want every single person who comes to me to be able to get the results they're looking for. And if for some reason that 0.1 out of 10 that didn't, I know the reason they didn't because I know what the protocol does. And if they had this reaction, well, it's because of this reason. And if they had that reaction, well, because it's this reason. I know because I'm controlling all the variables. With homeopathics, it's not that straightforward. Again, I've studied close to 100 books on homeopathy. I've read all the books, literally all the books. I think about 20% of my national board exam was on homeopathy. And believe me, I know it cold. I know it inside and out. But the problem is when I was implementing it with myself, in my practice, it just wasn't getting the results that I wanted. And I want consistent results. And you don't need it. That's the truth. But what you do need, and what the homeotoxic literature says is this. This is what we need. Okay. How do we reverse all this damage? How do we bring it back in time? That's why not everyone gets better in 3 days. That's just not the way it works. Your body gets better as it heals. That's the beautiful thing. And the truth is that we're all on a journey, and the journey getting well again, the journey losing the weight, and the journey to live longer, to feel better, have a better quality of life. That's part of the fun. It really is. You can't see it now, but I'm telling you this right now. It's the journey of getting well. Now, it's not always fun. I'm not saying that. It's not always unicorns and sunshine and rainbows. But the truth is, it's that journey that makes us stronger. It really does. Once you've been through it, you almost become unbreakable. That no matter what happens in life, you've been through worse. I'm telling you, it's part of the journey and it's worth it. Now, how do we reverse this process? If you have the autoimmune disease, if you've gained the weight, if you have the cellulite, if you have the skin-based issues, how do you reverse this? You reverse it by detoxifying. That's the truth. You reverse it by doing exercise to the best of your ability, by sweating on a daily basis. Because why do we need to sweat? We need to get these toxins out of our body. So we need to literally draw them out through the skin, huff them out through the lungs, through exercise, get in a sauna, do everything that you can to get this stuff out of your body. That's what you have to do. Now, unfortunately, we know that women who are breastfeeding, we know that a lot of those toxins come through the breast milk. Women who are menstruating, the healthier ways, they get it out through menstruation. Guys don't necessarily have that ability. What we need to make sure, though, is we're sweating on a daily basis. We're doing our exercise. We're getting lots of fruits and vegetables in. Those are the only things that detoxify. Protein's not going to detoxify, and fat's not going to detoxify. Sorry. Those will clog up the digestive systems and the lymphatic systems of those people who are the most sick, which is why they seem to do better on a plant-based diet. Maybe not for the rest of their life, but certainly while they're detoxifying. I mean, look at the Gerson Institute. Look at all these things. Keep your mind open if you're a hardcore, big-time protein person like I used to be. Believe me, I used to get 250 to 300 grams of protein per day. I've been there. I've done that. I learned from it. I've moved on. Is protein important? Yes. Is fat important? Yes. It doesn't take the place of fruit and vegetables. Those are the only things that we know that decrease our chance of cancer. Those are the only things that we know that help to detoxify the body. Okay, so we need to get those in our diet. Of course, the smoothie, of course, that I recommend. Use the daily nutritional support powder. Get the nutrients that you need. Use the daily fruit and vegetable blend or greens powder of your choice. I recommend the daily daily fruit and vegetable blend because it's third-party tested. It has 22 organic fruits and vegetables. It has more grams in it of polyphenols than anything you'll find on the market today. And then use that daily probiotic support. Get your gut in good health as well. Try to do an intestinal cleanse. Remove that stuff from your bowels. You know that I recommend the intestinal cleanse at least once or twice a year. And if you're suffering right now, we'll start with that. Get that stuff out of your body so you can start from a clean slate. And the number one thing you can do, and again, your choice. My job is to bring you this information, but I need to give you the recommendations that if you were sitting across from me on Skype or in my office, or you're a family member who came to me, or if it was my own wife, I would say this: you need to do a 21-day detox. You need to clean house as fast as possible. Not 3 days, not a 2-day juice cleanse. No, we need something more powerful. We need to do literally a 21-day detox. If you do the Dr. Ball detox, great. That's obviously what I recommend. I formulated it from scratch. If you don't want to do that, then that's fine. But what I want you to do is think about this. What is the Dr. Ball detox? It is every phase 1 and phase 2 nutrient that your liver needs to detoxify. Why is the liver the most important? Because it's your liver that's filtering the blood. If we go back to steps 2 and 3, we can start to see that's where the body's accumulating in the blood around the cells. We need to clean the blood as fast as possible. Do your saunas. Eat well. On the Dr. Ball detox, you're also doing a vegan-based lunch. You can do that. I'm telling you, you can do it. You can handle it. You can do the black beans. You could do the chickpeas. You could do the lentils. You can do other sources. You can handle that. You're going to feel fantastic. You can do another shake for mid-afternoon. And then you can do your paleo dinner. You can do a vegan dinner. You can do a vegetarian dinner. That's your choice. We have the whole plan laid out for you. But again, it's all free. If you just go to drballdetox.com, you can see exactly what I recommend. Why do I put all of my information right on that website? It's because no matter what you want to do, you need the education, you need the information. This is how you get well. You don't get well by always adding more stuff and more stuff and more stuff to your body. You get well a lot of times by this subtractive process that I'm talking about. This subtractive process of detoxifying, of cleansing, of removing. We've known that now for thousands of years. Look at Greek medicine. Look at Roman medicine. Look at what Socrates said, right? If he's the father of medicine, why aren't we listening to him? He talked about detoxification. He talked about a system of cleansing. Look at functional medicine. We're talking about detoxification. In the Institute for Functional Medicine, where I studied post-grad, also, they had a whole module, a whole weekend just on the detoxification systems of the body. And it's our liver. Our liver's what's missing the sulforaphane. It's missing the glutathione. It's missing the N-acetylcysteine. That's what you need. Give your body the phase 1, the phase 2 nutrients. Don't pretend like we know how to do what's best for our body. Simply give your body what it needs and get out of the way. That's what the Dr. Ball detox supplies. But also, what I want you to think about is this. You need to help up the ante. You need to exercise a little. If you can only walk, then walk. If you can do an upright bike, do an upright bike. If you can do some sprints, do some sprints. Do some body weight exercises. Get your body huffing and puffing to get that carbon out of your body. Any type of toxins that you can huff out through your lungs, get that out. Do the sauna. Join a local gym if it's only to use their sauna. I'm telling you, that's such a tremendous thing. Look back in the last couple of weeks. The research, 19 minutes per day. 19 minutes per day is all you need 4 times a week to reduce all-cause mortality. That's everything you could die from by 40%. How tremendous is that? Heart attacks, sudden cardiac death down by 60%, 4 times per week for 19 minutes. That's it. I mean, literally, like I was saying before, if there was a drug out there that could give you those type of results, it would be a $10 trillion plus drug a year. Without a doubt, we have the power. We know what to do. We need to just take care of all the systems of our body. And if we can pick one that's most important, we need to work on detoxification first. You cannot rebalance your body if your cells are being bathed in heavy metals and candida and bacterial overgrowth and all sorts of different toxins, pathogens, viruses, everything, cancerous cells that are floating around your body. Give your body what it needs. Do an intestinal cleanse, do a 21-day detox, get back to the daily fruit and vegetable blend, the smoothies, just all the things that I've been talking about. Really, this is what it's all about. It's not my information. It's really not. This is information that I've collected from 3,000 plus books of study. It's an obsession for me. Use my obsession to your advantage. It's going going back, getting my degree. It's traveling all over the world. I don't care who's right. I've said that a million times. I'm not any one camp. And that's why people don't know what to make of me, as a naturopathic doctor, as a functional medicine doctor, whatever you want to call it, Ayurvedic doctor. They don't know because I'm not in any camp. And the reason is I don't have a dog in the fight. I'll do whatever is best for my community. That's all of us listening to this podcast. That's my family. That's everyone in my private practice. That's me. That's you. And what we want to do is we want to do this. We want to take care of ourselves. We want to get ourselves well, then pass that on to family members, pass it on to friends, coworkers, our own children. That's how we all get better. That's the only way any of us have hope in a world that tries to medicate every single one of us from essentially we're born up until the day that we die. And unless we take back our own health, there's honestly no hope for us. Thank you everyone for tuning into another Cabral Concept. I really appreciate each and every one of your listens. You know that I do. And I really hope that you'll pass this show along to anyone you believe it could help.
Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced in only 2 ways? Over time, you become deficient in vital nutrients, and you also accumulate toxins internally and from the environment. As those nutrients diminish and you increase your total toxic load, your body then begins to show the first signs of dis-ease. It's actually quite predictable, and the good news is that if we know how you began to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, we also know how to empty it to begin the healing process. I was fortunate enough to learn this ancient healing process from my mentor after suffering from debilitating diseases for close to a decade. It was only when I began to implement these techniques did I finally overcome my illnesses and go on to live a life of energy and vitality that I now enjoy. I'd like to share with you now what I discovered after traveling all over the world and how to combine the best of ancient healing wisdom with state-of-the-art science. Allow me to teach you exactly how I've been able to help over 250,000 people to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped they could be. To get your copy of the international bestseller, The Rain Barrel Effect, simply go to stephencabral.com/rainbarrel.